Welcome everyone. My name is Linda G. Robert. I'm your Back in the Groove Again coach. I'm here to help you live your best life right now so you can love what you do. And I have a very interesting person in front of me today, a hypnotherapist. And I don't know a lot about you, Albert. I'm going to find out a lot more. I want to tell you that I've seen hypnotherapists on stage.
Right. Yes. Well, you want to start there?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Well, I always like to say to people, hypnosis for entertainment is actually real. So it surprises some people. They're like, "Oh, I thought it was just staged."
Yeah.
It's a little complex. There's a lot to it, but the bottom line is it is real. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of the hypnotist finding the right subjects. That's the key. We call those people somnambulists. It's a long, fancy word, but it basically means those that are able to go into a hypnotic state very easily. Okay, so it's real.
Okay.
We're not too thrilled with them because it kind of muddies up our waters a little bit because people think that we have the ability to mind control and the whole squawking like a chicken and all that stuff, which is absolutely not true.
It's not?
It's absolutely not true. In my work or in all hypnotherapy work, it is not possible to violate someone's moral code. So if you're in the experience and we got cats here. If we're in the experience,
it's okay. It's all good.
That's a good one. If we're in the experience and the hypnotherapist was to say something that sounded a little sketchy, the client would immediately come right out of trance and sit up and say, "What's up with that?" So you cannot violate someone's moral code. Now, there are things we hear about with certain government agencies during certain war times where they are able to achieve mind control. But that's a whole other category. That requires,
and that's not what you do.
That's absolutely not what we do.
Good. So thanks for that little bit of a background. So tell me, I've got some questions prepared. What inspired you to pursue a career in hypnotherapy?
Yeah, that's a good question. It took a while, I'll tell you that. I've always been interested in all things metaphysical. Going back to when I was a kid, and over the years I was studying one thing and studying another thing and aligning myself with certain people, and I had this sense that sorry about that, the full-on spiritual healing, energy healing was something I was interested in, but I didn't feel that I fit into that category. So when I discovered hypnotherapy, in particular the style that I work with, it became very clear to me that my role is more of a investigative reporter than it is a spiritual healer. And I thought,
investigative reporter?
Spiritually oriented investigative reporter. I thought that's pretty cool. I can wrap my brain around that because I've got my 1 foot in the metaphysical realm and I've got one foot in the sort of the let's call it the science or the quantum physics of it.
Yeah.
And I work with both of those things. So when I discovered that I can work in this role, as we call it, past life regression.
Right.
It's just a title. It's just a title. We call it past life regression hypnosis therapy. A lot of words.
Okay, got it. Yes.
The truth of the matter is, clients don't always go to a past life. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they regress to an earlier part of this life.
Right.
But I have to tell you, Linda, they go places that the only way I could describe it is it boggles the mind sometimes.
Yeah.
It really does. And but it doesn't matter. In fact, I'll go as far as to say It is not a requirement that you believe in past lives or reincarnation for this therapy to work. It does not require that.
Yeah.
An open mind and an open heart approaching it is a requirement.
Right. Right. So, I mean, going back in past life and hypnotherapy, do we always use hypnotherapy to tap into a past life? Is that the only modality that's used?
There are many modalities
Oh,
out there to tap
yeah.
into past lives. There are many spiritually oriented healers that have sort of their method to get in there.
Right.
There are those that work as what you would call like a psychic reader or a psychic card reader,
Right.
which gathers the information and provides you with the information about your situation. That's okay. I prefer that the information come out of the mouth of the client rather than me tell them the information.
Oh, right. Yeah. So what's the role of the subconscious mind then in this process?
The
Because it's
subconscious, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's the subconscious mind means one thing to the conventional therapy, like psychiatry and psychologists and stuff like that. They have one definition of the subconscious mind.
Right.
In my world, the subconscious mind is synonymous with the higher mind.
Okay.
Okay. So a spiritual person might say, we're tapping into the higher mind, or we're tapping into the Akashic records
Yes, right. Yes.
pertaining to that person's situation, be it a disease or an emotional issue, or something's gone wrong with their organs, or that is information that is unknown. The
Right.
medical, like the best client is the one that says the medical industry can't figure it out. That's where you go, yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Oh,
Because we do figure it out.
wow.
And that's the impressive part. That's the part
Right.
where you,
That's the reporting part of the investigative part.
yeah, that's where we show off.
Oh,
That's where we show off a little bit. There, oh, there's your information that your doctor couldn't figure out, right?
so do you
So
have to use your intuition at all?
your intuition at all.
Your intuition, like
Yeah, yes. Intuition, higher mind, subconscious mind. These are all different titles to the same stuff.
right,
So the answer is yes.
right.
Because we work in what's called the theta brain state, which another way of describing it would be a profound state of relaxation. Would be a way to describe that, because theta is kind of sciencey, doesn't really mean anything. To give you an example, meditation works in the
Your
alpha.
cat's going to be famous, by the way.
Loves it. He's my old man. He's 17 years old, so it's amazing that he's up here getting in my business. I love it. So the alpha brainwave state is what you would typically be for a meditation or daydreaming or relaxing or whatever. We take clients into the theta brainwave state, which is much deeper, and that's where the doors open up to what we describe as past lives, or whatever you want to call them. Sometimes the lives that they experience, and Linda, you gotta know that this, when they're in the experience, it's real to them. If
Right.
something traumatic is happening, they're having a strong reaction. If something really sad is happening, they're in tears. It's a real experience for them.
Yes, yes.
And my job as the facilitator or the coach is to just guide them through the system, guide them through the journey, nudge them this way, nudge them this way. If something traumatic is happening, it's my job to sort of to gather them up and have them see the information or experience the information that is safe.
Right.
Sort of like a shaman's job would be in a shamanic ceremony. That's his job.
Right.
Is he's responsible for the well-being of that person.
Right.
And to bring them to a place where they're able to gather information that previously was unknown to them.
Right. I want to give you an example, and then maybe you can explain it. I don't think I've ever had one of those past life experiences, but I do remember a few years ago when I was sleeping, I had a dream, and in that dream, I was somewhere else. I was a different person. I was dressed in a 1980, no, 1880 kind of dress. I was in a carriage, and it just felt in that dream real. And that came up a couple of times, but that same person, me, was in a different scene. And it was really kind of weird. It wasn't scary or anything like that. It wasn't traumatic or anything like that. It was just, well, I wondered if that that was part of my past life, you know? It was just one of those weird experiences.
The answer to that would be yes.
Mm,
There are the dreams that you have that 20 years later you still remember them vividly, and beyond that time. And then there's the ones that are fleeting. Within 30 seconds you forget them. The profound ones, like your dream, is you visiting another, let's say, another dimension, another life, let's say.
yeah.
So in a sense, you have dipped into that Akashic field or that information field, and you've seen something, and that's fantastic. So my work would be that expanded over a 2-hour experience, let's say. So the narrative that plays out is incredible, and then of course they go home with the recording, which is their homework essentially. There's a lot of stuff comes up. Diet stuff comes up. So many things come up. It's not just magic. There is a responsibility. There is some work that needs to be done on the part of the client.
Right.
In addition to whatever healings happens right on the spot.
Right. So they do go see you because for some reason, you were saying earlier, a doctor can't help them, a medical doctor can't help them. There's something wrong with them physically, maybe mentally, who knows? And they've tried, but they cannot or haven't received any help to help them with their issues, medical issues. That's when they come and see you. Is that right?
That's the case. Not real.
Yeah.
Because in that situation, it's something that is what we call karmic carryover. So in other words, junk that we brought with us from another incarnation, or it's still on our karmic list of stuff to accomplish in this life, right? Stuff that we did not accomplish in a previous incarnation. So we brought it forward to deal with it. So there's no memory of it, and certainly a doctor isn't going to figure it out. Obviously,
yeah.
This is where we get in there, and we bring it to the light. Is probably the best way to say it, because anything that's been sort of buried in a pile of let's say in your basement, once you bring it all up, you can dust it all off and deal with it. But if it's hidden, you can't deal with it.
Right.
So oftentimes just the visual of it or the experience of it is enough for them to let go of that issue. Be it psychological, emotional, or physical.
Right. I need to ask about the training here, because this, when we're tapping into someone's probably past life, there has to be some type of training you went through to be able to assist people to help them uncover all of these mysteries. Right. So if you can talk a little bit about your training.
For sure. My training was, I'm unique in this world of past life regression practitioners, because I've always been really interested in the idea of bridging spirituality with science.
Got it.
Metaphysics with science. Most practitioners in my world are just straight up past life regression, just the spiritual aspect of it. So initially, I did my training with Dr. Mike Mandel in Toronto to get my certification for as a hypnotherapist
Oh,
in the conventional sense.
right.
So I had a really strong foundation. So on top of that, then I started exploring with various teachers that did this work. And
Yes.
I went to one teacher and gathered whatever I can gather from that teacher. I went to another teacher, gathered up whatever I can get from them, to another, including the method that Dolores Cannon created, the
Mm,
world famous Dolores Cannon, and perhaps your audience can look her up, and it'll blow the
absolutely.
minds. It'll blow the
Yeah.
minds. And so you take all that stuff, all that information in the training, and you develop your own style.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's I can only do what I do my way,
Well,
and
that's it, right?
you
I
can
mean,
only
it's
do
the
it
same
your way.
same with coaches, right? We take coaching training, but we need to add our own flavor to that, of course. So you do that too, of course, right? Hmm.
Uh, so you can give it whatever title. It depends on my audience. If the audience is not up to speed on the metaphysical thing, I'll say, oh, it's regression hypnosis therapy. If my audience is up to speed and they're all into the spirituality and all that, then I'll say, oh, it's past life regression hypnosis therapy. They sometimes go to a past life system. They sometimes don't. The most mind-blowing part of this is when they go to what I call other. There is
Other?
no other, which is it's not a past life, it's not the current life.
Oh,
I don't know what it is. There's no physical body sometimes, but make no mistake about it. The sessions are just as profound
I
and
can
just as
imagine.
mind blowing. When they see themselves as what we call an elemental, which
Right.
is
I was going to say some type of spirit or some type of
right,
soul.
right, right, and and the detail is incredible. The experience is incredible, and what they leave, the feeling and the healing that they leave with is probably the best part, because they just it sounds mysterious and it sounds like it's really unique, but the truth of the matter is, if we continue on this path of ascension, on this raising of the collective human consciousness, we're
Yeah.
going to sooner than later reach a period where we're all going to have these abilities, and this is all going to come natural to us. Telepathic communication, remembering past incarnations, and having all that access, that's going to soon be natural to us. I don't know when or
You
how soon
think?
that's going to
You
happen.
think it'll be natural? Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's write that down in our calendar. Albert said that today.
Well, it's recorded, so we've got it.
Okay. Yeah, I really do. I think that's going to happen. Not
Hmm.
next year.
No, 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 no.
No,
But I mean, 20,
but
30, 40, whatever. Yeah.
yeah,
At some point.
yeah. At some point, not
Yeah.
too. Yes. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
good.
we are evolving, that's for sure, right? The way that we think, the way we tap into the universe now is probably, and a lot of us do that. Not, I don't want to say a lot, but I mean, more people do that now than probably 50 years ago. So it
Sure.
seems to be that we, as a species, we are evolving. Our brain is evolving. Our abilities to tap into whatever is up there or beyond is
Right.
evolving. So I can see that happening at some point. Hmm,
Good.
interesting.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's absolutely happening. It's not even a
yeah,
question.
yeah. So can you run us through a typical case, of course, without revealing any personal private information sort of thing? That'd be fun.
Before I share with you a typical case or a typical session, just know that start to finish, when they walk into the point where they leave, we're looking at about a 5-hour investment. It is a deep
Right.
scroll.
Makes
Yeah,
sense. Okay.
yeah, it's pretty deep. Well, I was talking to a client yesterday. Sometimes the process starts on the phone, so I have access to some information. Typically, we spend about an hour and a half just on the conversation, on the consultation. as you may imagine, having rapport with the client
Yes.
is
Yes.
absolutely essential.
Yes.
Trust level with me has to be 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
So you could just imagine. So we spend about an hour and a half just communicating, and they share with me what they're wanting to learn, whatever it is they want to get out of it.
Right.
Okay, so once that's done, we go into the experience. We change positions, and they'll be in a lying down, comfortable position, and the process starts. So the beginning part, let's call it the first half. The first half is the exploring past lives part. Okay, so typically they'll experience 1 to 2. It depends. I'll keep my eye on the clock. If they've gone through one past life or whatever life, and that there's still lots of time, I'll take them out of that experience and I'll take them to another life, and we'll explore that as well. So this way, it offers them an opportunity later on to sort of create a little bridge and put all the little pieces.
Right. Maybe there's a pattern there somewhere.
There's always a pattern there.
Yeah. Okay.
For example, I had a client she did what's called leapfrogging, where every time I had her move, she went to another completely different past life, and it was really confusing. So she ended up going to 6 of them.
So almost like Quantum Leap, the TV series Quantum Leap, but not exactly.
Almost like Quantum Leap, the TV series.
Okay, got it.
Almost. And later on, she contacted me and she said, I made sense of it all. I was able to connect this to that, to this to that, and it played out like a story to her. And she got whatever it is she needed to get out of the session. 6 is not a usual situation. Usually, if the past life is really fruitful, a lot of information, I'll stay with the 1. I will just stay with
right. Got it. Yeah.
If I play it out and I feel that that's all we can get out of that one, then we'll go to another one.
Yes.
And we'll do that. So
that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Once we're done with all that, we go to the next part. I segue to the next part, which is the part that we call speaking to the higher mind, or speaking to the subconscious mind. Okay, that's where I pull out the pieces of paper that the client showed up to the session with. All of the questions. One list says physical, and they'll write all their physical issues, physical ailments, or whatever. And the other piece of paper will have the title life. What's my life purpose? Why am I always so sad? What's the source of the depression? What work should I be doing? All these life type stuff. My relationship with my mother, my relationship with my husband, and all these types of questions. Mm-hmm. We'll have 2 lists. So when we segue, when we're done with the past lives and we go into the speaking to the higher mind, we're literally shifting gears. It's the part of the session that actually looks quite miraculous, because their tone changes, their facial expression changes. It's almost as if I'm no longer speaking to, let's say you were the client. It's almost like I'm no longer speaking to the Linda that walked in the door. I'm speaking to someone that's tapped into a higher energy. And I ask my questions. Why did so and so manifest cancer in their lungs?
Oh wow. Uh-huh.
And you can see the face doing whatever it does, and the eyes doing the rapid eye movement, and then they'll just come out with it. And as you could imagine, it's always physical illness and disease is always tied to some sort of emotional trauma.
Right. Yes, I believe that too. Mm-hmm.
Always. Okay. So that's an easy one. Cancer. It's like, to us, it's almost like it's an easy one.
Is cancer related to a past trauma that person had, or does it even go deeper than that? For example.
Yes and yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So if you say, well, okay, well, let's say breast cancer, And so immediately I'm thinking to myself that that's no big. That's obviously a nurturing issue, either lack of nurturing or not able to nurture. So we know that trauma manifests in this area of the body. But if I go through the questions with the client, and there's nothing to be found within the current life that leads to any sort of lack of nurturing, where they report that their mother was fantastic and their grandmother was fantastic and they have children and they're fantastic, then we know that this was a karmic carryover thing. So we're going to have to go back and go find it. And we find it and we release it and we heal it and we send them home.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, okay, so let's go back to your case where you talked about that second phase where they're getting information from some sort of higher source. So let's keep going from there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's where we ask all the questions. Now, it's important that when we get the information about a particular ailment or disease or whatever it is, it's really important that I ask the question to the higher mind, their higher mind, is it appropriate to heal this right now? Most of the time, the answer is yes. Occasionally, they'll say very quickly and very assertively, no. And then my job is to ask why. Right. Why is it not appropriate? Because it's not always appropriate to heal something. Sometimes that's part of their karmic plan, their karmic script, something like that. It's sort of like saying you're getting from this, you want to go from this point to that point. So you tap in the coordinates into your GPS system and you press go. And you press start, go there. And there's a road closure and a bump and a tree fell down blocking your way and all these things. And so for me to judge that block here, knowing that they're going to get there, the good stuff is over there, I may be wrecking the whole experience. They may need to go through all that. That's where all the learnings are gathered up. So that's why it's important for me to ask, is it appropriate? Because I might be messing up the learnings.
Might not be the time. Might not be the right time. Yeah.
Not be the right time. But I have to tell you, it's important also to say that the fact that their intuition led them to make the appointment, and show up to the appointment, and experience the appointment, most of the time the answer is yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So is it appropriate to heal this ailment now? The answer is yes. I give the instruction. Go ahead and do that now. But because I'm an spiritually oriented investigative reporter, I ask a lot of questions. So I always say, well, tell me what's happening. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What's going on? Explain it. And I got to tell you, Linda, the answer universally, anywhere in the world, the answer is almost always the same. So we know something real is happening with the healing, because otherwise it would be like millions of people gathered and agreed on the same law. It wouldn't be possible. So we know that when they describe what's happening with the healing, we know something real is happening. And we can tell from their groans and their moaning and the twitching and all the noises their body.
At the time.
At the time. Yeah.
They're healing as we speak, sort of thing.
Healing as we speak. Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So there's a lot. It's if you didn't know any better, if you were uninformed and watching something like this, you would think something really bizarre is going on, some sort of exorcism type of thing. Now, mind you, not all sessions are that dramatic.
Right.
Not really. They're not all that dramatic, but sometimes they are. And sometimes not, depending if you're dealing with a disease or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I imagine it does depend on what the disease is and where it originally came from, I suppose, too.
Well, we have a saying. It goes like this: the energy that created the issue is the same energy that's gonna correct the issue. So we know we can tap into that thing and we can change it. And as you know very well, energy healing is no longer looked at like a frivolous sort of thing that crazy people do. Now people are understanding there's something real going on.
That's
And
right.
with quantum physics as our tool to use, we can
Mm.
actually explain it scientifically now, where years ago we weren't able to do that.
Mm.
Now we can actually bring science to the table and satisfy the analytical person that's wanting to do this as well.
Right.
Right? You can imagine the
So,
analytical person has questions.
so what, as we're nearing the end of our time, what suggestions or advice would you give to someone who's actually thinking about going through this type of process?
Yeah. What
Like,
advice
how
would I?
would they know they need it? First of all, how would they know they need it? And what do you suggest to them?
Well, this is my work is something that really requires a certain going back to the idea of intuition. It's something that you're drawn to or you're called to, or synchronicity is a big part of it. We don't have the time, but I can actually explain the mechanics of synchronicity in a quantum physics sense. So it's a real thing. So it's the simple answer is, if you're called to it, the information will come to you. You'll be in a place where perhaps I'm giving a talk
All right.
and you heard something and it, or a book and inspired you. You did a quick online search and there's my website, or it's like that. It's not something that we advertise or that we don't really work that way. It's very intuitive slash synchronistic.
Right.
That makes any sense.
Yeah, that's right. So if somebody is maybe not feeling right or well, and all of a sudden they start seeing different signs
Right,
along
right.
the way, they
Happens to
might
me
get
all the
curious
time.
enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that happen to you where you're contemplating something and all these things are showing up? All these is symbols and signs and stuff. Yeah, sure, right? That's how it works. Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. So when if somebody does get sign or signs, many signs, how do they contact you? How do they contact you?
Well, if it's or if I'm seeing them in person at a little talk or something that I'm doing, that's easy. I'll just exchange information and we're good to go. Otherwise, they'll find themselves somewhere on my website, www.albertcrimi.com, and they'll just fill in the little form. I'll get the message, and we open up the conversation from there. And they get a feel for me. I get a feel for them. I know when clients are not ready for it. I can
Well,
tell.
well, I was going to say you get a feel for them. So are there clients that maybe it isn't the right time or right fit or
If there are clients that I sense they're not ready yet, so I'll give them some homework. I'll say, do a little study. Go online and type in quantum healing hypnosis therapy. Check it out. Go online, type in Dolores Cannon. Check her out.
yeah,
Uh, ask me questions, ask lots of questions.
right.
Uh, and then once I get a feel for that they're up to speed, they're getting it a little bit, then I'll bring them in. And because good healing work is what I want. I don't want people to show up in a state of mind where they're not ready. That's not good for them, and it's not good for me either, right?
Right. That's right.
It happens
Yeah.
on occasion. It happens to everyone in every industry. It's inevitable. So I know a little bit of preparation, a little bit of knowledge, basic knowledge
It would help. Yes, I suppose they have to do a little bit of research to find out
a
what,
little bit.
what they're kind of opening themselves up to in the sense, right? For sure.
Yeah,
That would make sense. Yeah.
so there's
Well,
no hard rules to any of this, really, Linda. Not really. There's
mhm.
no hard rules, but there's general guidelines that say, you might have, I've had clients that said to me, I'm really analytical. I don't think this is going to work at all.
Right.
And but I really want to try. I really want to try. And I say, okay, well, if you really want to try, let's try this thing. And they will have a fantastic session fantastic, where they managed to have the past lives and have a profound understanding and have a profound healing. So you never know. You really don't know what you're
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but I think you understand what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I believe that whether you want to call it past life regression therapy, or if you want to just call it regression therapy, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. I believe that today, this is perhaps one of the most effective methods of getting the answers to whatever the issue is. It's almost like I find it's like the catch-all, because of the fact that the client can put whatever they want on that list.
Right.
And don't forget, this is a really amazing part. Well, I shouldn't say don't forget, because I haven't told you yet. If it's a lady with children, we can tap in, and quantum physics explains this, entanglement it's called. We can tap in and ask questions about the children and their healing and what's going on with them. That happens too.
That's crazy.
So now the session is for them, and they're also a surrogate for their children or for their husband or for their ailing whoever. Yeah. So yeah. So it's really amazing.
That's wild. That's wild, man. Yeah, that is wild. And I could see how this career for you, this profession is, is exciting, And, if you're helping somebody help themselves through, this process, then bonus, right? And they can walk out feeling like a new person, I imagine, a lot of the times.
Really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, great. I want to thank you again for this great opportunity. You're the first person that I've ever interviewed that has this profession. And I tell you, I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience will also have learned a lot. Thank you so much for being here. And I will add, of course, your website on this video as well, of course.
Good. Thank you, Linda.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.